My name's Richard Stuart. I'm the Highway Sector Director at Costain, and I'm here today to talk to you about Project 13, a new approach to productivity and predictability. So, to start off, in March 2017, the ICE with the Infrastructure Clients Group published a document that's caught the imagination of our industry. And the paper that was launched at that time and then followed up earlier this year represented the culmination of years of work, but in reality it's just the start of an industry change initiative which, if it's going to be successful, needs to be understood, accepted and embraced by the whole industry really. Now, I'm not here today as a Project 13 insider, so I haven't made any significant contribution to this, but I think I do represent in some way the industry that it's aimed at. And so I'm one of many leaders in UK infrastructure who will need to embrace the change that Project 13 envisages if it's going to be a success. And I'm going to talk to you about that today. Now, as individuals, we all come to this industry with different experience, different backgrounds. And I was doing my GCSEs when the first NEC contract came out, and I was at university when the Egan report was published. So my entire career has been spent in the modern era, where we work together in a spirit of mutual trust and cooperation. And I don't know what it was like before that, but it must have been pretty bad, I think. So what has happened? Have we failed to deliver the challenge that we set ourselves 20 years ago? Or has the challenge just got harder? Is Project 13 a rehashing of a previously failed attempt at delivering systemic change? Or is it just the next step in our industry's journey? So the truth is, I think that we have seen significant progress over the last 20 years, and I believe that we have truly improved as an industry. I think safety, workers' rights, environmental protection and enhancement, sustainable procurement have all made great leaps forward, and a lot of this is enshrined in legislation. And these are just a few examples that you see here that didn't exist when the Egan report was published. But it's not just the legislation which has changed. Today, when we go to deliver infrastructure investments, we do so in a way that delivers higher quality outputs and which respects people, both in the teams that deliver those outputs and in the communities that we work in. There are, however, some significant areas where we haven't changed and where change is still really needed. And these are familiar and well-rehearsed issues that we come back to time and time again, and which are symptomatic of an industry in poor health. Predictability. So we're still too often surprised by last-minute variances to plan. Productivity. This is an often repeated mantra that we've heard over the last couple of years, that manufacturing has doubled its productivity over the last couple of decades, whereas construction has flatlined. We've heard this time and time again. This is an extract from the Farmer report. And one of the key criticisms of the industry in the Egan report was the prevalence of low and unreliable profits. And sadly, this is still the case. Lowest cost competition continues to dominate our industry, and behaviours are too often born out of a fight for survival. But we're at a really privileged time in the industry at the minute, and this was confirmed in last week's budget and also in the recent publication of the National Infrastructure Assessment. So the fiscal remit that's set out in the National Infrastructure Assessment shows an anticipated annual investment of over 26 billion in infrastructure, and that's 135 billion over the next 5-year period. So if transactional waste costs us, to pick a random figure, say 10%, which I think is probably conservative, then without change we could easily be spending £13.5 billion of public money on waste. And using the most recent Brexit unit of public spending, that would be enough to fund 40 new hospitals. So I think as an industry we've got a moral responsibility to make sure that we attack that waste, address it and stamp it out. and we don't want to spend it arguing or looking over each other's shoulders. So apologies to any consultants in the room, by the way. But I think it's really hard to quantify transactional waste, but I think if we look around, and we'll have all seen it in our own careers. In my career, I've sat in meetings about meetings. I have, on more than one occasion, I've been part of a fully mobilised team that's been put on standstill for a period of weeks or months, waiting for funding to come through. I've been asked to undo work to prove that it's been done. I've seen people asleep on the critical path. And I've spent countless hours discussing the commercial impact of change. But I've also seen how it can work really well. And you don't need to look any further than the case studies in the Project 13 blueprint to see some fantastic examples of people working together, eliminating waste, collaborating, and getting it right. So what we need to think about and really set ourselves as a challenge is, how do we get it right consistently every time? What needs to happen? How do we make this changes in industry? And this is a question that Project 13 sets out to answer. So the guru of change is a guy called John Cotter, and Cotter's 8-step process describes how to successfully deliver strategic change. And I think when you look at this, Project 13 have clearly been working along similar lines. The sense of urgency relating to the growing infrastructure investment pipeline, the guiding coalition of the ICG, the strategic vision set out in the blueprint and the roadmap, and the army of volunteers, one of which we have with us today. Step 5 is in progress. You will hear from Jennifer about some of the fantastic work that's happening in the digital transformation work stream to remove some of the barriers to the effective management of information. And step 6 is about creating early successes. 4 organisations, as part of Project 13, have been announced as early adopters, forming an implementation group to share experiences and learnings of the new principles. One thing that is notable is that none of these early adopters are highways bodies. You've got Anglian Water Environment Agency, Heathrow. So why is this? Are we missing an opportunity? Is there something that we need to do that we're not doing? Now, on one hand, Highways England are on a parallel journey, and we heard from David this morning launching the Regional Delivery Partnership. This is one of the largest ever procurement exercises that's been carried out by the DFT, and it's one of the case studies for Project 13. Now, there are some differences between the Regional Delivery Partnership model and the Project 13 model, mostly in relation to risk transfer and the level of turnover that goes through the integrator. But both models share the same ultimate aim: to increase predictability, to improve productivity and efficiency, and to really put customer value at the heart of our collective decision making. But what about other areas of highways investment? So last week's budget saw a commitment to invest in the major road network. And so there's an opportunity to shape the delivery model for this investment. The roads which make up the major road network are managed by local authorities, but as a network, these major routes will often span a number of different local authorities. But from a customer perspective, road ownership is irrelevant when making a journey from A to B. And there's a risk that if investment in the major road network is not delivered in a way that is coordinated with overall end-to-end customer journeys and outcomes in mind, then we'll not achieve the ultimate value of this investment. So perhaps we are witnessing some good timing: a new delivery model looking to find a home in the highways sector, and a major highways investment programme on the horizon looking for a delivery model. It's likely that the challenges that Project 13 sets out to address, those of predictability, efficiency, a focus on delivering value-based customer decisions, will be highly relevant to the challenges for the successful delivery of the major road network. But as with all of the early adopters, and with the variants on the theme, and with any further organisations which are going to be part of this, it's unlikely that the new ways of working will instantly click into place. They will require a fundamental understanding of what value means, a willingness in all of us to embrace change, and many iterations of trying, failing, learning the lessons, and trying again. And as a final thought, if we go back to Cotter's 8 steps, and particularly as we get to steps 7 and 8, We need to see the baton pass from the small guiding coalition to the army of willing volunteers to the industry as a whole. And that's where we all come in. As organisations, we can't enable this change by simply observing from the sidelines, nor should we be tempted to compete in a land grab for our share of the new model. Sustainable positive change will benefit the industry as a whole, and as organisations who make up the landscape of this industry, we will benefit if we change for the better. So firstly, we must understand the ultimate value that we ourselves and others bring and organise ourselves in a way that can make this value flow. Secondly, we must relentlessly identify and eliminate waste and the barriers to delivering value. And finally, we need to continue to learn lessons and invest in improvement, and in particular, making sure that we harness the potential of digital technology and innovation. And ultimately, when this is all about change, breaking old patterns and forming new and better ways of working. The change proposed by Project 13, or something like it, will happen because it has to. And if we buy into this imperative for change, we need to start getting involved, checking our understanding, challenging ourselves to accept what needs to change, and embracing the future. Thank you.